Coding Challenge Review, Intermediate, Both of Slavery. So, probably you've noticed that now we can get inline help, just to, especially for, for new players, right? To get some details and some inline feedback about how to interact with the platform. Apart from that, it's interesting because today we got a couple of new questions, so let's see how to deal with them. The first one was one of them, right? Was one of these. So get average pixels. This is the very first time we tackle this question. We actually introduced it yesterday. So this talks about filter. We have an array, not an array, we have an object with several properties. So we have to first of all identify the numeric ones, and then we need to calculate the average. So we need to calculate the average of 10 plus 20, which clearly is 15. There are several ways to solve that problem. So let me propose one of them. So first of all, we receive an object with CSS props, for example, right? So out of this object, let me, so I'm going to create, let me think about that. Let me try to do it in one go. If it doesn't work, I'll split it into few statements. So first of all, I want to access the values. How do we access the values of an object? Correct. We agree on that, right? Object.values, CSS props. And then that will give me an array of 10 pixels, block, and 20 pixels. So the very first thing I would like to do is I would like to filter the properties that are represented by numbers. In this case, it's 10 pixels and 20 pixels. How do we do that? There are different ways to solve the problem. I would like to use, for example, because on the descriptions it says that the numeric properties are the ones that have the pixel suffix, right? So based on that, let me filter. So for each CSS prop, actually, so because these are the values, so here you got the values, so instead of CSS prop, that would be a bit confusing, right? That would be CSS value. So then I want to keep just the CSS values that includes the word pixel. Again, there are multiple ways to solve the problem. This is just one idea, right? Because I got an array of 3 elements, 10 pixels, block, and 20 pixels. I want to essentially get rid of the block, right? I want to keep 10 pixels and 20 pixels. Because I got that already, the next step will be to transform 10 pixels into number 10, 20 pixels into number 20. How do we do that? Parse int, that's correct. So we can do parse int CSS value. And once I have that, how do we get the average? Reduce. Okay, that's interesting. Let's use reduce. Reduce average CSS value. And then what? How do we do that? Average plus what? CSS value divided by what? The length of what?
Array.length.
Array.length. Where is array? How do we get the array here? You see the problem, right? At the beginning of the bootcamp, we mentioned that reduce can receive multiple arguments, even though historically speaking, we focus on the first couple, right? The total, the accumulator, and the current value. But then the third one was the index. Maybe you remember that. But there is a fourth one, which is the array itself. So why accessing the array is convenient? Well, here you got a good example. Because we've been filtering the original array, we don't know the length of the array here, right? We don't know it unless we pass it there, right? So that array will have two elements, 10 and 20. Then can we do that?
We can do that. It's just that index in the code will report it as index is not used.
Okay. Okay. We'll see that in a minute. We'll see that in a minute, Bala. We'll have to this problem shortly. Cool. So let's recap what we did. First of all, we got the values of my CSS properties, and then for each value, I just want to keep it if it has the px suffix, and then once I know that here this CSS value is a numeric one, I'll convert it into a proper number using parseInt. And then finally, okay, because I have an array of two numbers, or three numbers, four numbers, I can easily calculate the average, as you know, right? Yes, the tricky point here is to get the array as the last element, right? Will this work or not?
Yeah.
Let's try. It does work. It does work. And regarding what Bala suggested before, actually, look, there are no elegance-related issues, because this is how JavaScript works. I mean, if you're right, index is not used, but because of the signature of the reduce method, there is no way to skip it. We need to put it there, even if we don't use it, because we are interested in the fourth argument. So in other words, if you want the first and the second argument and the fourth, but not the third, sorry about that, you still need to declare it, right? Otherwise, there is no way to access the array.
Yeah, that's the only reason I capture that into a variable and then use it. Yep, sure. Any questions about this approach?
Is it possible to use wildcard?
Wildcard? No. That's not supported. Cool. Let me see what you did here.
Can I just ask on that?
Yep.
Sorry, on that approach. If you didn't have the filter, I get why we have the filter.
Yep.
But if you didn't have the filter,
Yep.
and it had a text which was like German,
Yep.
does parseInt turn that into 0?
No.
Does it turn it into anything?
Into not a number. N-A-N. Yeah. So if you run parseInt on a string, which is nothing to do with numbers, like Jonan, it will return N-A-N, not a number. So let me see what you did here. So Poppy, so she's using for in, so she's pushing the values. So so that's fine, yeah. So she has an array of values. And then it's the same thing, right? Using filter to just keep the numeric ones, and then using map to actually get the integers, and finally reduce. So that's pretty much the same thing, you see? The similarities. So Poppy pretty much used the same thing. I went with the inline approach, and she created few variables, right? But that's
Ricardo, so
yeah.
I was evaluating the type of the values coming out, and if you use parseInt, it's returning null for where there is no number.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We'll see that. If you did that, we'll see that in a minute in your code. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Cool. So
I was debugging it that way. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Richard. So he used for in, and then he's checking if has pixel value. So this is a similar approach, you see. So he's checking, do I have pixels? If so, then he's adding to total, right? And then he has another method to extract pixel value. So he's using parseInt as well, right? and then eventually he just divide the total by the number of, numeric properties, right? All good. And then Vala, so he get the values, and then he use parseInt, and then right. So that way of filtering, so I believe is the same. It's an alternative mechanism to determine whether the given value, val2 in that case, is a number or not, right? If it returns true, that means that we got a number. But what happened, Vala, if we got negative values?
Well, we can't have negative pixels.
Why not? Are you sure? Can you have a margin top minus 10 pixels?
There you go, it's a bird there. Thank you.
Yes, right? Cool. There is another way. We can, I can show you an alternative way to solve the problem without using includes at all. So what we can do, look, I can get rid of filter. So we can do map. I want to try to use parseInt on all the properties, regardless of whether they are numeric or not. And then we can do that. CSS value, look at what happened if I run this code. Still works. You see what I've changed? So I first try to convert everything into a number, everything. If it's a numeric like 10 pixels, right? Look at the isNaN method. So that's the classic way in JavaScript to check if something is a number or not, right? So if parseInt works, it will return a number. So look at the way to read that. That's a bit confusing, but it makes sense. Not is not a number. Not is not a number means it is a number. Yeah? Right? So that's, yeah, following Vala's approach.
Ricardo,
Yeah.
So initially I looked at the types of the values coming back, and the ones that weren't numbers was returning null, and I was trying to filter using that condition to say anything that is not null.
Yep.
I just wasn't working for some reason.
Yep.
I was just saying, yeah, so I don't know why.
Yep. Yep.
So how can we evaluate something that is not null?
Something that is not null.
Yeah, so if you return the types of those values coming back,
Yeah. Well,
for example,
you
just
can
do a type of passing to that value.
Yeah. Can we do type of value? It's
No,
not
within map. And just
within
return
map.
that.
So dot map value type of value. It's not null. Something like that.
Yeah, that's what I tried to do, and it just wasn't working. I spent a lot of time there.
Okay. Send me the snippet afterwards, and then we can have a look if you want.
Sure. Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Cool. One question, guys. Can I do that? Look at the change I'm introducing now. Look at this line, please. You see the line? Can I do that?
Not there in the filter clause. Yeah.
Let's see if that works. Ooh. No. That's in. No, that doesn't work. So ignore me. I thought that was going to work, to be honest.
We do need that map. We do need that map to get passed and then do the type of check in filter.
Yeah, but we are mixing things, Vala. I wanted to ask about something else. Send me the snippet afterwards, and then we review if you want.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sorry. And apart from that, please, everyone ignore what they just mentioned, because that doesn't work as expected. I'm sure there are some scenarios where it does work, but not in that one. I don't know why. Anyway, let me check what else you did here. Jonan. Ooh.
Now, can I say, I was trying to do a for loop,
Yeah.
similar to what Poppy did,
Yeah.
and then push if it includes.
Yeah.
But then I just couldn't get the for loop working.
Yeah.
So then I just wrote it out.
Yeah, but you can everyone spot the problem here, right? So the problem with Jonan's solution is as soon as, for example, we add a third element into the object, that won't work, right? Because you're statically checking first, second, and third. Yeah.
But yeah, so maybe afterwards, can I show you what I did?
Yeah. Of course, guys, if you have any, like Bala or Jonan, if you have any snippet that you think it should work, or send it to me, and then we can review it later on. Cool. Question number 2. Actually, I'm going to skip everything. That was pretty easy. Question number 3, we've done it already. So let's focus on question number 4. That was the killing question, right? That was the most complicated one on the challenge. So we have an array of people. So then we want to identify which players have always finished into podium positions, right? In other words, which players, you can see results, and that means the position in all the challenges they participated, right? So which players have finished always in top 3? The first one, clearly not. The second one, yes. The third one, yes. Then display these 2 guys, right? In the second example, this guy has never finished into the podium, right? So don't display anything. You get the idea, right? I think functionally speaking, the problem is easy to understand. But then another question is whether technically speaking is something that we can easily solve. Cool. First of all, argument naming, guys. Players, right? Correct. So essentially, I get a list of players. So I'm going to return players. I mean, in reality, I have an array, and I want to get another array with the filter results. I'm going to use filter. We'll see what to do with filter. But then after filtering, what we got is an array of 2 elements, right? The last 2. Because we don't want the entire object, we just want the name. Can we use map to just get the name?
Yeah.
And finally, because we don't want an array, we want a string, right? And actually, look, we just want the first name, not the entire name. So at the time we use map, how do we get the first name of the user? Correct. We can use a split with a space. So how many elements the array will have? 2. How do we access the first element of the array? 0. Correct. You see how easy this is, right? So then now we got an array of just the first names, but because we don't want an array, we want a string.
Need to join.
Correct. We need to join them using the ampersand, right? Dot join space ampersand space. Yeah, you see? So now it's all about focusing on the filter, right? You see how I'm narrowing, I'm shrinking the problem. So I want to filter the players that have been always finishing in top 3. We can do something like that. Player dot, I think it was results. Do you remember some versus every? Let's use that. Every. You see? Every what? Well, every result is lower or equal than 3. You see? So that will keep a player if every result is, you see, it's not that complicated actually. Right? And of course, feel free to use the, the parentheses to do inline returns and all these things. What do you think, guys? Will this work?
Yeah.
Any elegance issue? No? Okay, let's have a look. That's it. Yeah. I'm very curious to see what you did here. Right. So let me focus on, first of all, Bala, because that's the only one who managed to get an answer here. So Bala, filter, same thing, and then you see that's the equivalent. So he's using filter, which is absolutely fine. But as we explained last week, using every is probably a shorthand of filter. But again, filter is perfectly fine. So he's filtering, he's trying to get, okay, give me all the results that are 1, 2, or 3, and then if that array has the same size than the original array, that means all the results are on top 3, right? And then it's literally the same thing, map, so he gets the first name, and then he joins it, right? All good. Yeah, to be honest, I'm not going to reveal this code because yeah, we can spend hours just checking what happened. But anyway, I hope you got a better feeling about how easy the question was, right? Is there any question here? No? Cool. So what else? Which one do you prefer to do, right? We got 29 minutes. Not the vowel count, because that's a trivial one. Okay, let me see which one was the most complicated one. So, question 1, we've done it. Question 2, no one failed. Question 3, yes, Jonan skip it. Question 4, okay, let's do question 5, because some of you skip it, right? Dave, Jav, and Jonan. So let's do question 5, last question. That's a good question, actually. That's a good question, because this is one of these questions that it takes seconds to grasp in terms of functional requirements. So we got an array of countries with a population, and then we just want to display the most populated one on each list, right? I think it's pretty simple. So first of all, what's the name of the argument? Countries. Get most populated country out of a list of countries, right? Cool. So then, my suggestion is try to sort the array, displaying the most populated one on top, and then just return the first element, right? So can we do countries.sort country A, country B? How do we display the most populated country on top?
Country B minus country A.
Country B, I think, is dot population, right?
Yeah.
Minus country A dot population, right? So that will display the most populated one on top. Because of that, how do we access the first element of the array?
0.
0, correct. And then because we want the name, dot name. Yeah? Will this work? Oh, yes. And the return statement. Thank you, Poppy. That's correct. Right. Let's see if that works. It does work. No elegance issues. What happened? Can you tell me, guys, what happened if we invert the order? Yeah? How do we solve the problem now? The last. How do we access the last element?
Length.
Minus 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you sure? No, I don't think that makes any sense.
No, only in slice, that is.
There's a way to show us a way.
How do we access the last element of an array? Length minus 1. Like that?
Yeah.
Wrong.
Countries.length minus 1.
Okay. Array.length. How do we check the array.length, guys?
Countries.length minus 1.
Correct. Thank you, Bala. Countries.length minus 1, right? That will work as well. Easy.
Just simplify. You don't need to. You just do sort.
You can use the sort.
You just call. Sorry.
Yep. Please note, guys, that to me, I personally find this strategy a bit confusing. Why? because our population is actually a string. And it works fine, I know it works fine, but it's a bit, I don't have the feeling I have full control, right? As soon as, for example, well, it doesn't make sense to put decimals, right? We cannot have half a person. But you know what my point, right? When we deal with numbers as a string, please try to avoid that, even though it works fine. I respect that in this particular scenario, as soon as we change the data model a bit, it will stop working. So please do that. Make sure you transform the stringified numbers into an actual number, right? Cleaner, sexier, right? Still works. Any question? No? Okay, so let me check what you did. So Poppy, she's sorting and then, interesting. That doesn't make sense, Poppy.
Okay.
Can anyone tell me why that doesn't make any sense? I mean, it's not that doesn't make any sense, it's just, it's pointless, it's not adding any value to the algorithm.
Because it was in the dot find, I know it's in the dot find section, so I just thought I had to throw in a dot find with meta.
It feels a bit artificial. Look at what Poppy did. I completely agree on the first part, right? So she's sorting the arguments. I completely agree on that, except the name of the variable, which is absolutely horrible. It's the worst variable name ever, Poppy. Why? Because if I have let country, I'm assuming you have a single country. Wrong. You have an array. So don't call it country. Call it, if you want, sorted countries or something like that, but don't call it country, right? And apart from that, we got an array of countries, so she's trying to find something. Okay, what is she trying to find? Look, it's returning place. So that means that because find will stop looking for elements as soon as that condition is truthy, because obviously the first place will be a country, the country is an object, the object will be truthy, so in other words, it will stop after the first iteration. That's why to me that doesn't make any sense, it's very hard to read. We know the most populated country will be on top of the array, so simply do country bracket 0.name. Okay? Any question, Poppy?
No, that's fine, thank you.
Cool, cheers. ASL, literally the same thing we did, all good. Richard, nice. You see, so Richard created a function that trim is interesting. Do you know why he's using trim?
In case there's any space.
Yes, if you've noticed, I'm not sure if that's a typo or we did it on purpose. Look at what happened here. There is a tab, so there's something weird here. So the data model is wrong. But I like what Richard did, because that proves he paid attention to the details. He noticed that, and he trimmed the values. What I find a bit weird, however, is, so he's doing number 1 is less than number 2, all good, but then he's surrounding everything with a number. That's a bit weird, right? Richard, why are you doing that? Richard?
I think because
Yep.
it was a string.
No, because look, here you do, okay, number, that will return a number. When you do one number is less than another number, that will always return a Boolean, right? 4 is less than 7, true or false. 7 is less than 4, true or false, right?
Yeah, it doesn't need to be that number at all.
Okay, cool, but good point for the trimming thingy. That's a good thing, Richard. Rafa, yeah, the same thing. Indentation looking much better over time. And then same thing for Ashley. the only thing I don't really like about ASLEE solution is, I like the idea of putting one segment on each line, but the problem is, if I look at what I'm reading at the moment, country.sort and then .name. Like, what? That doesn't make sense, because sort returns an array, but he's expecting to receive an object. How that works? Oh, there's a 0 on the right-hand side. So this is very important. That should probably be on the left-hand side instead of on the right-hand side, right? In my opinion. And then Bala, the same thing, right? It's literally the same thing. I'm still not a big fan of putting the 0 on the right-hand side, but apart from that, all good. And Natasha, the same thing. Yeah, it's all about the same thing. Anything else, guys? Any question here? No? We got time for one more question.
Nothing else. But I think, like you said, the real solution should be converting to number.
Yep.
Then it should be wrong otherwise.
Yep.
Yeah, and the trim as well, like Richard did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, cheers. Thank you. So we got 18 minutes, so we can review one more question. So, which one do you prefer, guys? Vowel count or short actors? Any preference? Come on, let's do both. Get vowel count. So we have a string, and we want to determine how many vowels do we have on it, right? So I'm going to do that relatively quick because we've done that already, I believe. So we can do string. How do we transform a string into an array of individual characters? Split, empty string, right? So then we'll have an array of A, then B, then R, then A, blah, 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 right? Split. After splitting, I want to just filter the vowels. So for each character, you remember that? Dot what? Includes, correct. Character, that's correct. And then, because we want the length, we can do the length, right? Will this work? What do you think? Any issue? Let's have a look. No, wrong. What happens if we put a space here? There are no spaces. Well, in the second one there is a space, but in this case, in the second exercise, it will return an array of how many elements? 3, correct, Poppy. Welcome, then 2, and then code 80. Right? We don't want that. We want to access each individual character. Right. Let's see if that works. It does work. Right? Easy. Split, filter, length. What you did here. So here you go. Poppy using regex. Yeah, not against that. Good. Acel using regex as well. Okay. Yeah. Richard, split, filter, length, same thing. Rafa, the same thing. Ashley, the same thing. Dave, the same thing. Jeff, that's interesting. You're using an array, which is fine, but please remember that includes also works with strings. So it's just easier to just play with strings than with an array. And apart from that, Jeff, please avoid mixing double quotes and single quotes, right? Let's take one or the other. Bala, regex, right? You see the different way to resolve the problem. So Acel and Poppy, so they have the regex, and then they say, if I got something on the regex, then get the length. Otherwise, get 0. But Bala is inlining the solution, so he's doing, okay, do the regex thingy. If that returns nothing with the OR, that means keep for now an empty array. Why he does that? Because if that doesn't return any result, here we'll have an empty array. What's the result of doing empty array.length?
0.
0, that's correct, right? That's why it works. Cool. And then who else? Natasha, Regex, and Jonan. So array filter, it's the same thing, right? Cool. That was easy. Any question about this problem? No? No? Cool. So last question. Short Hollywood celebrities or actors, right? I think we've done that already. So we have a list of actors. We want to display the youngest one on top. So, argument name, guys. Actors, correct. So then we can do actors. Find? What method do we want to sort the array? How do we sort the array? Sort actor A, comma, actor B, right? And then what? Actor B, born, return, actor B dot born minus actor A dot born, right? Anything else? We just want the names, right? We don't care about the born. How do we do that now? Square bracket 0 dot name. Are you sure? Right. Acel, what square bracket 0 dot name will return? Correct. Is that what we want? So Poppy, what did you propose before? Correct. Poppy is right. Dot map. So for each actor, which property do we want? Name. That's correct. That's correct. It works. What if we just wanted to return the last name of the actor? Split. Split what?
With a space. Split with a space.
Space. I just want the last name.
With a space, and then return the last element of the array.
Can we do that? Right, element on index 1 will be the last name. It will fail obviously, but you see, it will work, right?
No.
What if we want to reverse the last name of the actor? So I want to display first the S, then the A, then the R, and so on. So, we can do something here. If we want to reverse it, that will give us a string, right, with the last name. So can we transform that split empty string? So that will give us an array of individual characters. Then what? Reverse, that's correct. Correct, and then join it, right? So that will display something funny. You see? But it works, right? It works. It works. Any question? No? So what you did here? Poppy sorting and then mapping, all good. This created a variable. At least now the variable name is better than before. Sorted. At least I know. I don't know if it's an array or not, but it's something sorted. Okay, fair enough. Acel. So sorting and then mapping. Acel, please try to move for readability purposes that dot map into a new line here below, right? Who else? Richard, sort and map. That was an easy one, right? Rafa, sort and map. Ashley, sort and map. Again, same thing. Ashley, move dot map to a new line. Dave, sort and map. Jeff, sort and map. Move that to a new line, guys. and then Bala shorten. You see, to me Bala is very readable, right? Short and then new line map. It's very easy to read that. Same for Natasha. It works really well. So I think that's pretty much it, guys. Any question? No? Yeah. Okay, I think there is a question somewhere to reverse strings. I don't know where it is, but cool. Perfect. So that was it, guys. Thank you for watching. We'll be reviewing Expert by the first time after lunch. See you in a bit.
Hi, Ricardo.